Alright, here's my audience. I think there's like 12 of them now. Alright, zoom there.
Hi, my name is Kahlee, and the topic of my speech is, should sex offenders be named and shamed? Thank you all for coming today. The topic of my speech is one of much controversy. Like much of the world today, we all jump to conclusions without even understanding how we got there. With my speech, I hope to be able to explain the reasons I believe what I do. We as a nation are consumers. We use everything from clothing to houses. The FTC Labeling Act is an act set in place by the government that makes it necessary to label everything from cashmere to containers. The government is okay with us labeling everything. Therefore, we have a right to name or label sex offenders. It is shocking to know how many sex offenders live around us. Many families live near an offender and don't even know it. A close friend of my family has 2 children in elementary school. They had the same set of neighbors since the kids were born. One of their friends had told them about a website called Family Watchdog. The website is a nationwide source that shows every sex offender within a 5-mile radius of your home. She took her friend's advice and typed in her street address. Much to her surprise, she had a sex offender living right next door to her. Could you imagine? The whole time they lived in their home, their children were playing right next door to a sex offender. I strongly advise all of you to go home and search your street address. The most user-friendly site to search is familywatchdog.org. It's disturbing to know how many of them live around us. It turns out that where I live, we have 40 sex offenders in a 5-mile radius. But if I hadn't searched it on my own, I would have never known. Much like my friend who lived next door to an offender for over 9 years. Imagine if her friend had not mentioned the website to her. I believe that it should be the state's responsibility to disclose to its residents or any sex offenders are in the area. The offenders must check in once a year or they could face jail time. Therefore, the state knows where they're living, so why can't they tell us as well? When we think sex offenders, we automatically think they prey on children, but oftentimes it's quite the contrary. Offenders also prey on the elderly. This also backs my idea on the government or state having to disclose to its residents because many elderly don't have access to a computer, so it's nearly impossible for them to know. Here are some statistics. According to the National Institute of Mental Health, the typical sex offender molests an average of 117 children, most of who do not report the offense. About 60% of the victims, male victims, report that at least one of their perpetrators were female. And 95% of the victims know their perpetrators. There are over 400,000 registered sex offenders. Let's break it down. If there's 400,000 sex offenders that are registered, that is only the offenders that have been named. Each molester may molest an average of 117 children. That's 46,800,000 children that have been molested. Many people picture an offender as a man, but according to the statistics, they're not always men, but women as well. Does that not just make you mad? To add to the statistics, 8 out of 10 offenders are released before they even face trial. The government does nothing to intervene with offenders. People who go to jail for a DUI may have to face a judge as well as go through courses on drunk driving, but when it comes to offenders, there's no classes, and oftentimes there is no trial. This is why we should name our sex offenders. They should be made known for what they've done. That way, we as Americans know who we are all living around. The statistics say it all. Now, with that all being said, don't you understand why I feel the way I do? According to some more statistics on offenders, 28% of released rapists were rearrested within 3 years and recharged for a new violent crime. 8% of the same men or women are also charged with another rape. It truly disturbs me to know about these statistics. Before I did my research, I knew they were out there, but never to this degree. Every day, it seems like there's a new case on the news about what a sex offender got away with. I believe it's okay for sex offenders to have to abide by certain restrictions because when it comes down to it, the statistics speak. In Georgia, lawmakers are trying to pass a law where it would make sex offenders have to ask permission to take a picture of a child, whether it was at a sporting event or a birthday party. All over America, laws preventing sex offenders from doing suspicious things are going into effect, and I'm 100% okay with it. Are you? We should all be thankful for living in America, where we have access to sex offender records, where we don't have to worry about who our neighbors are. No, they won't have a huge sign in their yard that says, sex offender lives here, but the resources are in our hands. Be thankful that we have resources because we are the only place in the world that it is legal. Imagine what our world would be like if we couldn't name our sex offenders. It would be a much different place. Thank you.
You want to show us one more time, just so she gets for sure of?
Yeah. Okay. And here's my audience again. Everybody wave. No, I'm just kidding. Okay.